everyone, Hiba Ibrahim here, and Happy New Year to everybody. I just want to share a very inspiring conversation that Dr. Francesca Helm and I had in December of last year. We both wanted to reflect on the difficult times we are all living as academics, graduate students, and practitioners in virtual exchange and international education today. We also wanted to maybe shed light on why we're doing this work of the graduate students SIG with UNICollaboration, the hopes we have for the group, and also future plans that we really hope we get to with the volunteers and all of the efforts that people in the future can contribute to this. In difficult times, it's really sometimes crucial to question a role as academics or graduate students, and there's actually a lot we can do. Our voices matter, our work matters, so please take a moment to listen to this very interesting conversation, and we really do hope to hear back from you with questions, comments, or even interest in joining the SIG. Thank you.
UNICollaboration, the organization. So it's a cross-disciplinary professional organization about virtual exchange in higher education. We actually originally were established in April 2016, a group of researchers who had been working on several European projects related to virtual exchange. And then the network grew, and so we decided to set up this organization. And the main objectives of the organization are to promote the development and integration of research and practice about virtual exchange, not just in language education, which is where many of us have come from, but also across disciplines and as part of universities' internationalization and promoting intercultural learning. And also one of the aims has been to raise awareness of virtual exchange at institutional level, but also at policy-making level. So we've been engaging in particular with the European Commission, where because many of us have been based in Europe. And then recently the organization has kind of grew quite a lot because we were involved in the Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange pilot project. And after that, we've also been doing a lot of professional development work for people working on virtual exchange in higher education. And so we do a lot of consulting and professional development. So we've kind of changed the structure of the organization, and we now have a kind of a CEO, a manager, and we have some paid staff working with the organization. But yeah, I think I'll stop now.
Okay. All right. So first of all, thank you for everybody who's watching and being interested in this topic. And as Francesca said, UNICollaboration is basically a leading organization in virtual exchange in higher education contexts. And I think it was basically during the pandemic, Francesca, when we really talked about starting a working group for graduate students. And when I first thought about this idea, it was maybe inspired the pandemic, but basically the idea of the importance really of having a community for graduate students who are researching virtual exchange. And as we all know, this is a really young field. It's still growing. And sometimes people like me, for instance, you can find just one or two people researching virtual exchange in their institution. So they don't really have a lot of human resources or people to actually network with or talk about the research with. So the working group was, it was meant to be that part of that community to basically help graduate students get to meet each other in virtual exchange ideas about their research, maybe also get resources, learn about different programs and how they do things differently in their research. But also, as importantly, I think I started to think as somebody who was not from the global north, as somebody who's not based in Europe, how important it is, especially these days, for us to learn about virtual exchange from different perspectives and also different contexts. starting with the idea of how even virtual exchange is perceived as a pedagogy in other parts of the world, how it's practiced, how it's researched, the different theoretical frameworks maybe people think of, just being inspired from, events, sociocultural, sociopolitical events they're experiencing themselves. So, this community comes then to help those emerging voices of graduate students to grow and to thrive. And hopefully, since we decided to make this as part of the UNICollaboration organization, it was not a random decision, right? UNICollaboration has a lot of expert professionals, expert researchers in the field, people who've worked even with graduate students, either as supervisors or people in, RAs or graduate assistants. So we thought really that the organization can then be a really great space to provide graduate students with resources, with expertise, with mentorship. And that's why, for instance, we have you as our, immediate mentor, but we also have been really using other people's expertise, whether in contributing to our activities or, in consulting with what we could do in the working group, or even, encouraging graduate students to network with different experts in the field. So I think these two main reasons inspired the foundation of the group, and we're really hoping to keep it sustainable.
I think the work you've been doing, Hiba, is really important, and the point that you made about the global north and how very also kind of Eurocentric the field has been, and bringing new voices, emerging voices from different parts of the world is really, really important, and we really appreciate that. And also the idea that yeah, I mean it is growing as a field, but very often our PhD students are kind of alone in their institutions doing this kind of research. It's still not a big disciplinary area and institution. So I think these networking opportunities are really important, and you've done a fantastic job of leading this SIG.
I just want to add also, sorry, one thing to what you said also, it's becoming a very interdisciplinary field as well. So before you would see people researching, let's say, I don't know, language development or intercultural learning and virtual exchange versus, I don't know, other topics really relevant to your context as if you're an instructor or researcher. But these days you really see all these pieces coming together in research. So whether you are an applied linguist, whether you are in, I don't know, mental health or business, there's so many now ideas, there's so many things that are coming up that people are producing in literature. And I think it's definitely beneficial no matter what field you're researching virtual exchange. So hopefully also creating this community would then bring those people that you don't think will meet maybe even in the conference, bringing them to the virtual space where you can really get inspired by their work in so many different ways you've never thought of as a student.
Absolutely, no, that's really true. Healthcare, that's another really big, growing space for virtual exchange.
Yeah, correct.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more about the kinds of activities that you've been doing as the SIG, because you have been doing really a lot.
So I think, first of all, before maybe talking about the specific activities, I think it's just really good to mention the idea that a lot of working groups, what they try to do, as we discussed, is to contribute to a field, right? So I think it's when we imagine or when we think of SIG members, we really try to think of graduate students who are not just attending our activities, but also, bringing ideas and bringing their own service to not just sustain the activities of the SIG, but also to grow, to help us make it an important community to the field. So I think the idea of then considering giving to a SIG or working group that you're part of is absolutely, I think, a crucial aspect of maintaining the work that we are trying to do. And I think this is maybe one of the reasons why we're having this conversation, is to really try to invite people to the community to, take part. And as we all know, in any working group, ideas are really appreciated. This is hopefully an open and safe environment for people to share ideas. There's like no authority of like president, leader, members. Everybody really can just come and contribute and suggest ideas, and even lead those, proposed ideas, I would say, or activities that they would like. So I really do personally hope, moving forward, to see more people coming in and saying, listen, I have this idea. How about we do this or we do that? And it's really great. Speaking to the activities, so I think I would say we have been around for 2 years now as a working group or as a SIG, and we've maintained 3 main activities, I would say. The first one is, which is I think the most popular, is the webinar series we've been holding. And we usually aim to have 1 webinar per semester. And usually, these are on different topics based on the surveyed needs that, we every now and then we survey graduate students on what their favorite topics or what topics they would like to hear from experts about. So for instance, the past 2, and actually the coming one in spring, have been focusing on methodology, for instance, or like how to design a virtual exchange, for instance, a study, if you're thinking of mixed methods, if you're thinking of qualitative conversation analysis. So it's been really on different methodologies, for instance. And we also have been trying to keep a reading group. It hasn't been as popular as the webinars, but I think it's really important to keep, although I know we're all busy, we all are at different stages of our PhD programs, but I think it's a really great way to keep up with the literature, to discuss what's been published, and also get a chance to critically reflect on the proposed methodologies, ideas, concepts even. Because the reading group is not just trying to focus on empirical research, but we're prioritizing conceptual, let's say, papers these days. So we could reflect on, as we discussed earlier, ideas of diversity or decolonizing the field, or, voices coming from the global South, really different approach, translanguaging, all of these have been really important contributions to the field. So keeping up with literature that addresses those concepts, I think, is really important. So these are pretty much informal. We usually keep it so informal. People come in. We usually discuss what ideas we got us inspired, for instance, questions that these readings left us with, for instance, things like that. And we try to do this once every 2 months, just to also be mindful of people's time. And they're really short readings. Like we don't intend to have chapters or something like, I don't know, 10, 13 pages, something that is doable.
So it's not like book clubs with
No, it's not book clubs. No, again, people are busy. They have their own thing and their own work pace. So we try to be mindful of that as well. And then finally, we try to keep this also sometimes really once or twice a semester, depending on people's interest, and that is like the open socials, where we just have it as open for networking and for people to just casually talk about their research, and sometimes even share concerns or challenges. We've seen people share a lot of different things in those spaces. We've also seen a lot of interesting, information exchange on resources, on conferences or upcoming events, for instance. I think those socials also help people meet in person for the conferences. They are really going physically too. So that's also been really nice to hear. So yeah, that's really been what we've focused on in the past 2 years. But I think, I don't know, wondering, Francesca, since you're also in the field now for really many years, how do you see, generally speaking, service? Like, is it really important for graduate students to have service or to contribute to working groups like the UNICollaboration SIG? Have you really seen it beneficial as a graduate student yourself in the past, and now, a researcher where you are?
I mean, I think it is important also to show your involvement. I mean, I'm against people doing activities just to put them in their CV, but I think, being part of this community and perhaps, if you're not yet in a position at your institutions where you can, organize events and things, I think having, being part of this network and being active in this is very useful, can be useful. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be great to see, I'm thinking about what we have been doing in terms of supporting research, and the research SIG hasn't really been active. It's thanks to you that we've been doing activities, and so the ideas and the needs that come from the SIG are really important for us. So the idea of organizing things together, the idea of addressing some of the needs that you feel, and you've raised a lot of issues that that we haven't been considering. And I think this exchange is really important, but also disseminating the work. PhD thesis, we started quite a while back. I think Rob started this Zotero group. Zotero is one of those softwares for referencing and stuff, but you can have group bibliographies. And we've been trying to, keep that updated. But I think, having a section there on PhD theses, but also having, the research literature there, organizing it. I think that's a great activity that SIG members could be involved with. And I would really emphasize the importance of uploading theses online somewhere where we can share that. And I know you never have time, but, the other activities like bringing together, students and sometimes, kind of more advanced researchers is always good. Also for us, it's to have this exchange, to have this, these open conversations also about issues. So much has changed in recent years. The field is growing so much. I think it would be really great to be able to organize more events, both online and perhaps in person. We did try, but it was, perhaps too last minute. And we are so geographically dispersed that it's difficult. But I mean, perhaps organizing also more online events would be great.
No, I think I totally agree, and I think we had this really amazing experience. If you remember this past summer in June when we did the symposia, when we brought both students and more advanced researchers from UNICollaboration to really discuss very critical questions in the field. And we had like mini presentations and people were sharing ideas. So I totally agree. I think more events like this one would definitely break the ice, first of all, between graduate students and more advanced researchers. And also, as we discussed, I mean, that's how the world starts to learn about emerging voices, and how this is how, current researchers then know what's really happening with graduate students and what areas they're focusing on. And that's really important. This collaboration, this shared knowledge, I think, is very important for both emerging scholars and also, as you said, advanced researchers. So that being said, how do you see UNICollaboration, supporting you've been supporting, but like how does the organization plan to continue supporting the SIG in the, let's say, next year or two?
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I think that, the organization we're working more on a communication strategy. So we have someone, doing that. So I think we can certainly amplify the kind of the voice of the SIG through social media and support you in that. We're organizing professional development events. So some of which might be, of interest to young researchers. Also, perhaps in the future, we'll do some events on European projects, which I think are also a way for people to kind of get involved and create new networks, right? And think of getting involved, actively in virtual exchange, not just on the research side. So I think, collaboration on that. Also, if, young researchers have ideas for projects. I mean, UNICollaboration is, we have people who are quite experienced in writing projects. So, brainstorming potentially funded projects, that is another way that we could perhaps support young researchers, because that's something, we've been involved in 3 or 4 large-scale projects recently, but they've come to an end. So now the organization is thinking about starting some new projects. And then also, in terms of, we do, through some of the professional development and projects, we managed to raise some funds. So, perhaps we can provide small contributions to the organization of events, or identify speakers, and pay for speakers for events that may be of relevance to the SIG.
Yeah. That's all great. And I think in order to be able to do all that, we definitely, first of all, need more volunteers, right? We are really trying to...
I think we really need to reach out. And I think as, through the mailing list, we can, again, write a kind of reminder to encourage people to tell their, their PhD students and stuff to become active. And and anybody, who has friends who are...
this is basically an open invitation to every graduate student who's researching virtual exchange really out there. It's a really great place to be in. First of all, it's a really wonderful experience. You're going to meet different graduate students from different parts of the world. You're going to meet advanced researchers and even get to work with them. So it's really a lot to enjoy and to learn from. So I really do hope to see more volunteers coming in the graduate student SIG really soon. And we're now actually officially, as social media channels, they're officially now part of UNICollaboration. So we have now, we've joined, or basically now we're part of the LinkedIn page of UNICollaboration. And you will, if you're interested, you'll always find also news about the SIG and our events on the website. We have also kept our X account for now, and we might be actually giving this up at some point, but it's also been very popular channel for us to keep. Also, we do have a YouTube channel where we upload our recorded webinars and like meetings like this, so people can actually have access to them even if they were not able to attend those events. So I'm going actually to share all these channels on the screen, and you, as a graduate student, you're always welcome to email us. Also, you're going to find this email also on the screen. So hopefully we can even do more work together. One of the ideas that I also had, which I think can be, part of these open conversations, Francesca, you mentioned, is, for graduate students to share or present maybe their research and get feedback and ideas and, thoughts from the audience, let's say, to improve, or, I think this could be, we tried to pilot this in the summer, but this could be also timed with maybe conferences where people can practice their presentation to an audience they feel comfortable with before they actually go and present virtually or in person. I think this could also be a good time for people to get this out and get the chance to work further on their presentation before they actually officially do it in front of an audience. Thank you so much, Francesca, for talking to me today. I think it was really wonderful that we, talked about the SIG. And any final words you'd like to share?
Well, thank you, Hiba. I mean, really, for all the work that you've done in setting up the SIG. I think it was created at a time, as you were saying, I kind of put COVID at the back of my mind, but, it's a difficult time for everybody. But also the organization has been kind of going through this long phase of reorganization, but I think the SIG has been the kind of one constant thing that has carried on through this time, and it's done fantastic work, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it grow.
Same here, especially nowadays. The world is going through a lot in different parts of the world, so we really want to make sure that everybody's voice is heard, and that everybody's voice can actually contribute to change. Maybe not now, but on the long run, it's really important to feel that you have something to add and to say about what's
exactly. We really need to create a community that is that is safe, but that is also that is brave. So we need to address many of the issues that are currently happening in the world. I agree. And how we can work to support it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Francesca, and thank you all who are watching. We really do hope to see you very soon in the SIG. Take care.